Despite having the same overall objective as Rebuilding Glory Season 1 and Season 2, I guess technically not the new Season 1, so we'll just say Season 2 Rebuilding Glory, Tactics Evolved plays out quite differently. So if you have not played your first season of TE yet, I want to share with you 3 tips that I have learned in my experience in Tactics Evolved. Let's get into it. Alright, tip number 1 for first-time Tactics Evolved players is before the season even starts, or within the first day or two, I would highly recommend that you pick your main 1 or 2 commanders. This is because elite skills are extremely important in Tactics Evolved. I guess it would be kind of pointless to call it Tactics Evolved if none of the tactics have changed. You're really going to need elite skills on your units. They make a huge difference, and they take a really, really long time to research or train or whatever you want to call it. I am currently working on Elite 2 for Cataphracts in this new TE campaign that started a little bit over a week ago, and it's the initial time was like 48 hours or slightly under 48 hours. I still have 32 hours left. That's just for Elite 2. Elite 3 is like a base research time of 72 hours. Granted, you can reduce that a little bit by upgrading your elite training building thing. However, the point being, you need something like 6 days of raw training time at the base level to get 1 unit to elite level 3. These seasons are only like 6 to 8 weeks long. If it takes almost a week to get 1 unit to elite 3, I think you can do the math and see that you're not going to have your entire army roster fully elited out at elite 3 unless you're like a massive whale that's just gemming through this stuff and sweeping all the time and selling items for gold, etc., etc., etc. Most players aren't going to get that many units to elite 3, so that's why it's really important to plan out which commanders you want to use. This might not be the season where you want to use like Theoden, Gil-galad, and Dane, because those are all going to require completely different troops, and there's almost no way, except for maybe at the very tail end of the season, that you're going to get all of those troops that all of those commanders need to Elite 3 and conscript them all. Conscription's also more expensive, takes more time for elite troops as well. So it's very, very important to pick a few commanders that share some type of troop similarities. Doesn't have to be 100% the same troops, but you want at least a little bit of overlap there. You'll really save yourself a lot of time and headache, and your early game is going to be a lot more solid if you can get straight into farming and PvPing with full elite skills on like your main 2 commanders. And that brings me to tip number 2. And tip number 2 is that you really want to be careful with your gold in Tactics Evolved, and you definitely want to try to hit those boss weekends hard. If I pull up my barracks here, I will show you that these elite skills cost just as much as any other unit skill does to level up from 1 to 10. So every single troop that you use has yet another skill to spend gold on in order to level it up. And researching, like unlocking these elite levels, also costs gold. Granted, you do get some extra gold from doing the elite training tip things, and I'll go ahead and pull that up and show you guys that real quick. I'm not going to do mine tonight because I'm going to be upgrading my building a little bit later in the week, and then I can do them towards the end of the week, hopefully get higher star tips. It does give you some gold, but it's not nearly enough to cover all of the extra costs that come along with a TE campaign, which I guess tip 2.5 that I just kind of glossed over, I didn't write it down as a tip to include, but it does seem like an important tip, is that you want to level up the building that is associated with your training regimens. That's the official name of the training tips. I just kind of call them training tips because you do them just like tips anyway. As you level up your elite training grounds, this is that elite training building thing, you will reduce the amount of time that it takes to research the elite skills, and you will increase the star level of the tips. That is very, very important because you're going to get more gold, more of the little goodies that you use to research those elite levels, and it goes by quicker. The research goes by quicker. So tip 2.5 would be upgrade this and plan completing your training regimens around that building. The server just had the weekly reset for those training regimens because it's Sunday night when I'm recording this. However, I'm not going to go ahead and do them until like maybe Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. because I want to have my building at a higher level to get more valuable tips. I said tips again because I'm just so used to doing it. I definitely meant more valuable training regimens. Anyways, that brings me to the third and final important tip for Tactics Evolved, and that is you want to be sweeping pretty much all the time. You want to sweep in this campaign more than you're going to be sweeping in any other campaign. And that is because of two reasons. Number one, you can get these special sweep only tips that will give you XP and potentially gold as well. Most of them give gold. Some of them give resources or other speed ups and whatnot. But you really want to focus on the ones that give large amounts of extra gold just to help with the gold income, because seriously, it's going to be painful. And there's a lot of neutral units, particularly like Woes' Hunters, Keepers, Oathbreakers. These neutral units have some really, really awesome elite skills that make them absolutely fantastic units to have at your disposal. So that's yet another source of gold income for you. And the other thing that it does is, as you sweep mobs, you will be getting trial records, and there's a chance for you to drop different Tomes of Awakening for different races based on the race of mob that you sweep. And this is important because now, it didn't used to be this way, so if you didn't know it was this way now, you can trade these guys in, and it's very valuable because these are 10 trial records per. So even just from these orc ones, I have, like 340 extra trial records. I'm going to be keeping these because I'm going to be upgrading some elf units anyway. Keep this one because I'm going to be upgrading men unit anyway. Maybe I'll sell them off. I don't know. We'll see. Depends on if I need the trial records or not. Right now, I don't. The point being, sweeping is an extra source of gold, and it's an extra source of trial records, and you need those trial records. If we go back to the tavern, talk to our elite training guy, and we want to do the training exchange. I forgot where the button was for a moment. You're going to need these trial records to get elite medals, to unlock elite 1 on units, and then as you progress up the tiers, you're going to need some varying amount of these Tomes of Awakening. The reason I was saying I was going to save the elves one is because eventually I'm going to take Bow Knights to elite 3 as well, so I might as well just hang on to those rather than sell them. But it's really, really awesome that you can now trade them for trial records. So like every single time I get a Tome of Awakening Orcs, since it sells for 10 and a Tome of Awakening Men costs 10, it's effectively like getting a Tome of Awakening Men. Huge quality of life change for Tactics Evolved, and a lot of times trial records can be the limiting factor in terms of how quickly you can unlock those elite units. The first time I played TE, there were times where I would just have my elite training research thing just like not going because I didn't have enough trial records. That seems to be somewhat mitigated with this new system, and I've just been sweeping like crazy anyway. I think in the first day of the server I had something like 60 or 70 sweeps, and I really haven't slowed down ever since then. So that's my 3 important tips for Tactics Evolved. Hopefully it helps you guys have a better TE seasons. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and thank you for watching.